everyone, welcome to Whitby Guernsey Knit episode 10 week 11. If you don't already know, my name is Alana and I am knitting a traditional Guernsey using 4 needles and trying to get it ready for my brother-in-law's 65th birthday, which is in February. I've been recording my journey from the beginning, and each week there it has been beset really with problems. So I've finished the front and the back, and I have joined the front and the back of the Guernsey together at the shoulders. I then had to knit a gusset at each side for the neckline. To begin the neckline, that's where I'm up to. So I'm going to try and show you how I'm doing the second gusset. The first gusset took me ages, and I'm doing a method that I'm not entirely sure is correct. But I have to get this second one done in order to begin the neckline and to check whether it is right. So what I'm going to do now is just pause the filming to try and angle the camera down so you can see me actually completing the second gusset and the tightness of the stitches, which is why I'm thinking I don't think it's right, but let's see. Okay, so it says to make the neck gusset, rejoin yarn at neck edge and take 1 stitch from front and 1 stitch from back and knit together and turn. I have actually done that because it was too difficult for me to try and record that. Purl this stitch, which I did do, then 1 stitch more from the needle, turn. That's what I don't really understand. Knit these 2 stitches, then 1 stitch more from needle, turn. Continue in this manner, taking 1 stitch more into gusset in each row until 12 stitches in total have been worked into gusset. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to have my, I'm ending up with a stocking stitch gusset really, and I think if I just look down at the neck gusset, where is it? Knit across 1 piece of work, now I've done that one. Follow the instructions for the first gusset, then knit across second piece of work to first gusset. Divide these stitches onto 3 of the set of 4 needles and work 1.5 inches or 4 centimeters in knit 2, purl 2, rib. So I don't know, anyway. So I'll just have to go with this. So I've got 3 on. So I can't even move. I can't move anything. So I've got 3 on here. So what I'm going to do is turn. So 3 stitches are on. And then I'm going to purl these 3 stitches. It's extremely loose. This is why I'm getting holes as well in my gusset, which I'll just have to, just not tight enough there. Get it tighter. 3 there, and then I'll take 1 off the purl and then turn. I hope this is recording where you can see. Turn and knit those across. And then take 1 from there, this side, and knit that one. Then turn around and purl. I don't even know if I'm on the right side now. Purl this one. That's very loose. Purl that to the end. And then take a pearl, drop that needle, and take a pearl, and that it's so tight trying to get one from the other. So can you see I am ending up, I think it's even on both sides, but it's got quite a few gaps, which I'll just have to thread the my wool through and kind of sew it, which I'm not supposed to do because it's not supposed to need any sewing up. So I'll pause there and finish that because I just want to check that I have taken the stitches from each side accurately. So I'll just pause and then get back to you when I finish this. Okay, well I have done that and I had to knit to the first gusset along the row. So it looks like that, I can't move it at all. So what I've got to do now is, and I still don't know if this is right, I've got to divide the stitches onto 3 needles, I think, not 4, 3, does it say? I'm sure it did say 3. Divide these stitches onto 3 of the set of 4 needles and work 1.5 inches or 4 centimetres in knit 2, purl 2 rib. So I will stop now, count my stitches and divide those by 3 to put onto the needles and then begin my rib. So I will get back to you shortly. Okay, so I was going to divide, well I had to divide my 145 stitches I had all in all, and I had to divide those 145 stitches between 3 needles, which worked out at 48 stitches on each needle, and 1 stitch was left over, so I discarded that. Well, I knitted 2 stitches together, and then as I was going around I had to knit 2, purl 2. Well, when I went around I was left with 2 stitches, no, I can't have been, I was left with another stitch, I think. That it ended up that I had 4 stitches together of the same, I think it was 4 purl, or it just didn't work out right. So then I had to get rid of those 2, or I can't even remember if it was 2, whatever it was, I had to get rid of them. So it worked out that it was knit 2, purl 2 all the way around. There wasn't 4 of the same together. So I did that, knitted in rib for 4 centimetres, and that's as far as I've got now. So my next stage is to cast off loosely. So what I've got is I've knitted this Guernsey on size 14 needles. So I've got a size 10. No, I looked at a size 10 and I thought it was a bit too thick. So I've got a size 11 needle, and I'm going to cast off the neckline with this size 11 needle because when I cast off it's quite tight and it doesn't look as though there's much. I mean, I know this stretch down there, but it's not a very stretchy wool either. So I'm going to try the size 10. If I think it's still looking a bit tight, I'll go down to, sorry, size 11, I'll go down to a size 10. But what I don't want is for the edge to be all wavy. So I will pause now and cast off this neckline and then look at the pattern, and it is then time to put however many stitches I have to have around my sleeve opening, I have to put those onto the needles, and I know I have to really read carefully, because I know I've got to decrease the welt in the same manner that I increase. So I know I increased every alternate row, so I will be decreasing every alternate row. So I'll have to fathom that one out and get back to you for that. Right, so I have very nearly cast it off, but look at the difference in the needles. It feels as though I'm knitting with a real thick needle, as though you were knitting chunky wool. It's so thick compared to the size 14. What a difference. So I'm just put it up, it's so heavy now. So I'm just now going to finish the last few stitches on my neckline. Pearl, cross over, needle down, thread my loop through, oh, I don't like that. Can you see that? It's like a little gap. So what I'm going to do is open that. Get my thin needle, and I'm going to pick that last one up. I'm going to go to my first cast off there. Put that over there. Right, I'm going to go to my first cast off, and I'm going to, I'll just pull it off again so you can see. I'm not sure if you could see, I wasn't looking. So that's my final loop. I'm going to go through the first of my cast off, knit that one together, if it will, pull it out. The wool split, so I'll do it again. Knit it. Wool just really splits this wool. So split again. Try that. Hope you can see. That's better. And then I'll take that last one. Still doesn't look quite right, so I am going to take it out again. Put it down to there. Try it this way. That might be better. Take that last one. Over the first. Thread that, oh, that's looking better. Thread that through. And when I've wrapped that, when I've sewn that in, there won't be a gap at the top. So, I'm sure that'll go over the head. It's here. That's really quite tight. Right, so another stage finished. Whee! So I will now put the loops, have a look at the pattern and put the loops on. I think I said I had to put, well, I actually don't know what I said, but I know I didn't say gusset, and I meant gusset. So what I will do, I know I have to decrease those, and I have to decrease them every alternate row. So when I put these stitches onto 4 needles, I'm going to put stitch markers at each side of this, so that I know when I'm at the gusset to decrease. Okay then. So I will see you with my stitches on for the sleeve. And I have to do that in broad daylight because looking at that to pick them up, I think is going to be one tricky job. Okay. Right, another day. And I have got the stitches, I've divided my stitches between my 4 needles. And actually, I'm quite pleased with the line, if I can show you, with the line I've actually made, and I've got that all the way around, if this is correct, which I hope it is. It does look okay. So what I had to do was, for size 42, I had to have 134 stitches on between my 4 needles, and then I had 134, divided that by 4. I'm just looking at my notes, and it left me with 33 on each needle with 2 more to put on. So I put 34 on 2 needles and 33 on the other 2 needles. I will then put a stitch marker between the needles for the gusset, between the gusset, so that I can get that right, because I have to decrease now. So I'll decrease on every alternate row. And I've got to do, I think it's, I can't find the pattern. Here we are, yeah. So I have to knit 2 by 2 rib for 12 rows on this sleeve, and at the same time keeping the gusset going while you decrease the gusset to match the bottom half that was knitted with the body in stocking stitch. So I need to decrease that in stocking stitch, 2 by 2 rib. So as I go around, I will have to check that the 2 by 2 rib meets at this side for a seam, because it says I have to, when I've decreased this gusset, I have to continue in stocking stitch with a seam. So that will be after these 12 rows though, I guess, because I made that mistake, if you remember, on the welts. So I will have to just check how that's going, so that when I do come to do the stocking stitch for the sleeves, it just leaves that purl at each side to look for the false seam. I'll just try and show you. I'll have to have a little think about that. I'm just thinking of that now. So I have to have that. And do you remember I made that mistake where it was too wide here? So I'll be aware of that. Have to have those 2 stitches. No, don't. I put my 2 stitches on. Sorry about this, but I'm just thinking as I'm talking to you. So I have to check that the 2 by 2 rib meets. So I'll get back to you when I've done a few rows. So I'm back to show you the sleeve, well, the top of the sleeves. There's a long way to go. So I cast it on all the way around here, and I had to do 12 rows of double rib, which I have completed, and at the same time I had to decrease the gusset. I don't know if you can really see that, but that has worked. That's worked well. So now I'm on decreasing a stitch at either side of the false seam on every 4 rows. So I'll just show you that my false seam is beginning. not very difficult, not very easy to see, but the false seam is beginning down there. You'll be able to see it a bit when I get a bit further along. So that's as far as I've got to this week. So all in all, it wasn't a bad week in terms of getting little bits done. So now I'm on just plain stocking stitch, knitting in my rounds until I come to the cuff, and I've decreased all my stitches on my first sleeve, and then I'll be on to the second sleeve. Someone commented, looks like I've knitted the bulk of the Guernsey, and will I meet my deadline? Well, the sleeves do take quite a long time, because although they're not wide, they are quite long. So I don't know. I actually don't think I will, but who knows? I'll try. So I'm going to leave you now with a little video of Whitby, my hometown. I went out the other day. It was a lovely sunny January day, but quite cold and windy, and I did a little tour of the harbour and the dock, where in the past lots of boats moored up. There are still a few boats there, and it was at one of the main working parts of the town. And then I walked over the Whitby Spring bridge from the west side to the east side, and went up one of the oldest streets called Henrietta Street, where a lot of fishermen used to live. So you would see lots of fishermen up there in the past, and it was one of the poorest areas. When Whitby Museum opens, I'm going to try and go in and see if I can get some photos, and you'll see what it was like up there. Now it's really nice. So thank you for watching. Hope I get on well for next week, and I will see you next week. Whitby used to be an ancient fishing port, where they built boats, and boats would be like boat yards were along here, in particular Fishburn's yard. Now Whitby's really for the holiday industry and pleasure. There's lots of pleasure boats along here, but we have got Parkall Engineering across on the east side, who do build fishing boats. I'm going to go pan around down here, because when I was young, a little girl, I lived on the opposite side, on the east side, and over there you can see some cobbles, but there were so many when I was little. You can still see the fishing nets if it's clear on the camera, but there's not as many as there used to be. Whitby town straddles both sides of the River Esk, so we've got to your left, to the left is the west side, to the right is the east side, and this part of Whitby is called the dock. And it's really the main working part where the small cobbles come in. And if I pan around, we're in the middle of all the fishing nets. You can see them across there on the quay. And then if I pan this way, they're all here. This big boat here is a replica of Captain Cook's Endeavour. divides opinion really as to whether it's authentic enough. It's a metal hull. So I will just pause and we'll go further around. I'm showing you Whitby Bridge that you have to go across, and in the past that was the only way to get across. You can actually see how busy it is now, and there is another bridge that traffic and pedestrians can use further upstream. So we've come around to the other side of the dock now, and I'm just, the tide's very low, but I'm just showing you the few remaining working fishing boats. I would think there'll be quite a few out at sea now. Mostly they take trips now. So there we are. A bit better view of the Endeavour. Right, just in front of us now are the 199 steps leading up to St Mary's Church and Whitby Abbey. I'm just going to pan around now, and we're walking up to one of the oldest parts of Whitby called Henrietta Street, which now is just made up of virtually all holiday homes, as hardly any local people live here now. You can see the East Pier there. So we'll walk up here and I'll show you the view from the end. So these houses here would be where all the fishermen lived, and it was, according to my gran, the street where you didn't want to live, and she lived on the second street that you wouldn't want to live, but it was mostly fishermen along here that lived here. I'm just going to show you here Fortune's Kippers, closed today, but you can smell the smoke and you can actually see the wafts of smoke. This has been here, well, it says actually since 1872. And here, just up here, we're coming to the end of the old houses, and all the fishermen used to be up here with their nets, and there actually was a place where they would gut the fish, but now holiday homes have been built here yet again. Right, I'm going to pan around and show you where the Esk goes out to the North Sea. This beach here is called Tate Hill Beach. And now we're looking across to the west side of Whitby.